Greetings, my friends. Reformed Stoic here, back with another video. I don't know if this one's gonna be like the most important video I ever made. I kind of just felt like making a video Friday night. I'm gonna have a relaxing weekend. Got all my chores done today, so I'm kind of just gonna grill it tomorrow. Maybe try to feel spiritual or something, or get some sort of insight. But I think I have a little bit of insight for you right now. I meant to go like that. I don't want people to think I'm making weird symbols or anything. I don't know what that means. It's the eye. He just flashed the eye. Anyway, I didn't mean to. So we live in some sort of a weird, like, slave factory, right? I don't know when exactly it started. Well, I have an idea. The Industrial Revolution. And this has kind of been beaten to death. What if Alt-Hist just made another video about the Unabomber? Uncle Ted, as we like to call him. But, so, the modern right has been very conditioned, or just the right in general, not necessarily the modern right. Like, you think about the Red Scare, what the Republican Party has kind of always been built on, as long as we can remember, post-World War II, United States, anti-communism. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm pro-communism, but communism needs to be understood on a deeper level than what's typically offered from the right. When I had, like, kind of a standard right-wing phase, I was thinking of how, like, we're never taught about communism, or we didn't hear about communism that much growing up, which is true. The idea is, like, we've been kind of groomed to embrace communism in the United States, but I later realized that the elite really doesn't want real communism. And then that goes to the stereotype of, oh, real communism's never been tried, by some guy, like some soy boy saying that. But here's the thing, guys. Communism could be seen as a reaction to the Industrial Revolution, because it put the control in the hands of the few, and the many were pushed into factories. And actually, this insights from What If Alt-Hist's video are kind of still lingering in my head, like that there was a very quick, people were very quickly, rapidly shoved into this competition where you were kind of like looked down upon. It was an emerging of a new low class, people who worked in the factories, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, man, I don't want to think that I'm inferior or I'm not good enough, but all of a sudden here I am in life, and I don't have an idea for some big thing. I'm not a manager, I'm not a company owner or a business owner. I guess I'm gonna work in a factory. Like, what does that mean about me? And then kind of, some people think society is cyclical. Well, in terms of, like, attracting women, you were a little bit less favored to be a partner for a woman and to have a family if you worked in a factory. But it's like, there they were in the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the factories, and somebody's got to work in the factories. And it's just like, man, factories have become integral to society, and integral to factories is people working in the factories. So shouldn't those people be appreciated? Like, you don't want to have a society where a position that, like, 60% or more, I don't know the exact statistic, but over half of society, like, you don't want to have a society where over half of the jobs are dreaded. But that's basically the world we live in. And one of my favorite commentaries on this has always been The Reign of Quantity by Rene Guénon, who, now that I've circled back to a more spiritual, less strict, more of a perennial philosophy kind of a Christianity, more of like a Rosicrucian kind of a Christianity, a perennial philosophy, just thinking outside of the box again, okay? Because it's like, you know what? I went to the 501c3 churches as a targeted individual, and it wasn't really happening for me. Like, I tried to fit back into the system, and I've just seen, once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep, bro, and it might take you a really long time to realize that. But I don't want to attack anybody's beliefs or anything, and that's not the point. That's not the point of the video. The point is that we live in a society where most of the jobs are jobs that nobody really wants to work. But they're jobs that somebody has to work, at least for now, until automation. But I wouldn't think of automation right now as some wonderful thing, because it just seems like the world can't work in a way where everybody wins. It seems like it has to be a competition, and there has to be these kind of bleak, cut and dry rules. It's like, oh, you work at a Wendy's for life. It's like, oh, but, you know, I was abused as a kid, and I'm traumatized, and I tripped, and I broke my ankle, and I couldn't do my homework. It's like, yeah, you see, if we heard all of those pleas, then society wouldn't function as well. So it sucks that you broke your ankle and that you were abused and neglected, but wherever you end up, that's basically where you deserve to be. So nobody cares why you ended up working at a Wendy's forever. You just work at Wendy's forever, and our society operates in this way that it's like, you deserve to be there because you're there. If you're there, that's where you deserve to be, and it works both ways, because, you know, the guy who ended up owning a Fortune 500 company, well, he owns it because his parents already owned it, and his grandparents already owned it before his parents, and, well, he's just kind of there. And then there's some people who are like self-made men who are just absolutely, you know, they're the reason you broke your ankle. They tripped you. They tripped you and took your place in line. So you're either born into it, or you just have that absolute, like, predatory mentality. The scene from Better Call Saul comes to mind, when Saul's a kid and his dad is the clerk at the corner store, and the guy comes in, it's like, can I please get some money I need a ride, I need to get a cab. It's like, okay. And his dad goes in the back room to get some money, or like for a hospital bill or something. This guy's like pretending that he's sick or something, and when his dad goes in the back room, the guy immediately changes, like, and the little kid is watching him. He's like, listen, kid, I'm going to tell you something. There's two kinds of people in this world, wolves and sheep. You better pick which kind of person you want to be, quick. Something along those lines. So if you're not born into success, the best way to become successful is to be a wolf. And people like me, it seems like I was kind of born more of a sheep, you know, just a little bit more timid, and there's all kinds of people polluted all over the world who'd be like, that's because you're inferior, that's because you deserve to lose, yeah, you're a sheep because you're weak, like, people who just make it clear. I mean, it's right back to my point. Like, if wherever you are, that's where you deserve to be, and if you're somewhere low, yeah, you deserve to be somewhere low. Well, the best kind of mentality that can get you to somewhere high, if you're not born there, is to be a wolf. And some people just aren't suited to be that way. And it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't mean you're inferior. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It actually probably means that you're a really good person. Especially according to what Jesus said, what the Bible said, what Buddha said, what all kinds of spiritual documents have said. See, part of what's motivated me to embrace the perennial philosophy is that I like it when my point is backed up by more spiritual works. Like it's, yeah, Jesus said it, but a lot of other people also said it too. It makes the point even stronger. But society's just kind of messed up, you know? And when you're talking about it being like a slave society, it's like, well, think about slavery for a minute, you know? And there, some people act like there's a mystery behind who built the pyramids. Some people are like, ooh, aliens built the pyramids, or there's weird technology that we lost that built the pyramids. I tend to think you just threw a lot of slavery at it. And, well, if the slaves didn't eat, they would die. And if the slaves didn't have adequate shelter, they would die. And, you know, how do you get more slaves? You breed the slaves. So, think about it. Slaves ate and had clothes and had a place to live and had a family, kind of like how a lot of other people have it today. It's like, oh, but they voluntarily work, and it's different. It's like, yeah, it's different, but some people, their life just kind of leaves them in this place where it's like, it just kind of seems like I don't really have any options other than working at a Wendy's forever. It's like, well, that's your fault, and that's on you, and you should have studied harder. And a lot of the people who are saying that to you were born into wealth. I went to a school on the East Coast where everybody was from millionaire families, and, well, gosh, they sure all end up becoming successful from what I can see. And, you know, they're not all bad people, and I'm not even trying to say that, like, the majority of them were bad people. It doesn't make them bad because they come from money. But I definitely have experienced a large number of people who were born into money, and they will stay in money. And something I've experienced in my life, we've discussed this on my channel, is like upper class consciousness versus middle working class consciousness. The white boomer born middle class, there's these rituals for white boomers, and it's like, all right, son, you're 18, boom, you get the royal boot. It's like, but can't I just like stay in my room for a couple of years while I save money? Nope, you're gonna thank me for this one day, son. And there was a time when that worked better. The more time goes on, the more crippling and devastating that is. Up, 18 years old, get up, son. It's time for you to get your own place. Oh, it's okay, you know, go couch surfing. You're going to love it. You're going to look back on this one day, and you're going to thank me. You get any job you can get and get any place you can get, and good luck, son. If you deserve to survive, you'll survive. And a lot of people have gone through that. And look, one of the things I really wanted to address in this video, because everybody works, man. There's probably some neutral people who watch my channels. Like, look, I get what you're saying, Stoic, but I work because I have to work. Like, you think you're better than me? It's like, no, bro, no. This isn't about offending people who work. This is the way that society is. And I'm trying to kind of speak for you on your behalf. And then some people are defensive. It's like, well, I like working. You're a piece of shit, Stoic, because you don't want to get up every day and spend your time for other people. And, you know, I already made the video, like, why men don't want to work anymore, where I gave a lot of my experiences, where, look, the bottom line of that video for me was that a lot of people have not been nice to me, like, in the world. I had bad experiences, like, working at restaurants and stuff. It's like, these people don't appreciate me. I don't like being here. I would just rather be free, you know? It's this very beautiful thing. Like, what do I want to do? Well, I want to make coffee and go on the internet and read books and just read a bunch and absorb videos and learn and be spiritual and breathe. And oh my gosh, what an absolute narcissist, lunatic, knuckle-dragging, schizophrenic insanity. Oh, no wonder you don't bother. Like, the world wants to destroy that. The world wants to destroy that. And look, I mean, I don't want to send people off. The world's a really mean place, bro. Like, the world is very mean. There's this stuff kind of preached in universities, like, you know, oh, because of science and developments, we're living in the most peaceful time we've ever lived in. I think that's what the boomers lived in, and I think that's what I experienced in my childhood. We're headed towards something else, guys. Since the birth of social media and like high-speed Wi-Fi internet, the tech boom, the fourth industrial revolution, I think we're on a downtrend now, man. Like, this whole enlightened utopia kind of times that is bragged about in university, that's on the way out, man. We're headed towards cruel times again. We're headed towards mean, violent, the way that the world has been for the majority of history. We are headed back to those times, slowly but surely. And in terms of automation, like, here's the bottom line of automation. It's going to take away your opportunity to make a living. And I do understand the importance of making a living, okay? Like, I pride myself to be a philosopher. I think I've put the time in. Basically, guys, they need people to work at Wendy's. They need people to work at the grocery store. They need people to work these menial labor jobs. You have a bargaining chip with the big fat guy in a suit smoking a cigar. He needs you. On some level, he needs you. Now, the next step was mass immigration, where it's like, well, these people will work for less money. So now they need you less. And now you have less of a bargaining chip. And then they can just build a freaking robot, and then they don't need anybody. So the bottom line of automation is that the 1% or the 0.0003%, they don't need you anymore for anything. And if you think that they're going to give you some sort of a free ride, and if you think about the boomer mentality, dude, the boomer mentality is so consistent, and it's just so selfish and dark. And I'm so glad that, like, I feel like I'm headed toward the light. I feel like I'm headed toward enlightenment. And it's like, what you're seeing as you ascend toward enlightenment is like a boomer just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh, where do you think you're going, bucko? Somebody's got to clean the toilets. You think you're above that? Back in my day. You think you're above? You think you're above cleaning the toilets, bucko? Back in my day, I got on my hands and knees, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm floating away. I'm flying. I'm getting away from the boomer. Wow, he looks like a little ant. Like I'm flying away from the boomer mentality, dude. Oh, someone can dream, can't they? But it's consistent with the boomer mentality. It's like, well, what do you expect, kiddo? Like, you think I'm going to pay for you to live? You think I'm going to pay for your house? You think I'm going to pay for your food? You got to work. It's like, but there's no jobs because everything's automated. Well, you got to think. You got to think on your feet. You got to use your head. You got to really get down and put some time in. Treat it like a full-time job. Invent something. That's not my problem. And like everybody's going to be fucking sleeping in the streets, dude. And what's also consistent with that mentality is like war and the destruction of society and not peace anymore. But we don't want to go down that road. What I can tell you about myself, guys, is I am so disgusted by selfishness. I'm so disgusted by narcissism. I'm so disgusted by the boomer mentality. So I have a few incomplete thoughts so far in this video. I never really wrapped up my point about communism. Communism obviously was horrible, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, hey, we got these big factories now, and okay, your farm is useless, and your job is useless, and, well, I can give you a job at the factory. It's like, but now everybody thinks you're better than me. It's like, well, I mean, you want to eat, or you can work at the factory. It wasn't really better. And then, yeah, man, The Reign of Quantity by Rain Guinan. Like, there was quality, like a blacksmith and a farmer and different kinds of merchants, and the population was smaller. And, you know, you had your local, you got your dairy from the farms and your meat from the butcher, and there was less of these people, and they took pride in their work, and that was the reign of quality. But over time, in the Industrial Revolution, now it was more about quantity. The reign of quantity. More people, more numbers, more profits, more, bigger farms, farm machines, factories. And then instead of quality, instead of, wow, like the blacksmith made me this very special sword with his hands, now it's and the people who make it are miserable, and like, who does it really benefit, bro? What is it really going to? It's going to the top 1%, bro. So my point about communism was to have more of a balanced, polarized approach. It's like, yes, communism was bad, but there is research out there that suggests that maybe it could be better. You know, maybe like things could go a little bit differently. Like, there is a point when people say that true communism hasn't been tried and there's some things untouched there. All I know is that the CIA hates it and America hates it. And if you think America's trying to lead us towards a communist regime, that's not reality, okay? Real communism is Rockefeller going from having $1 trillion to not having money anymore. The CIA can't have that because they're the private military of Rockefeller. It's changing. And then I also think about anarcho-syndicalism from Noam Chomsky. Destroying oppressive establishments. Like, things that aren't useful, that aren't benefiting anybody other than like the draconian elite. Just getting rid of it. And I've met people who identified as communists, and they were really into Noam Chomsky's anarcho-syndicalism. So there's other views out there, man, and right-wingers are basically living and breathing CIA propaganda. And it's like, oh, you don't sound like a patriot, you don't love our country, and our country doesn't love me, bro. The country doesn't love me. I've seen that my entire life, and we just live in a big slave factory, man. And yeah, the boomer mentality, and then I never finished that thought either, is that it seems like middle-class white boomers don't have wealth consciousness. Like, and you know, it's not everybody, but definitely where I come from, Kodiak, Alaska. And then, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it because, like, in the fishing industry, that's how their family makes their money, and then they keep their kids in it. I mean, some people more than others, bro, but I know this mentality exists. I'm not making it up. It's just this, like, it's time for you to get out of the house, get any job you can get, and figure it out on your own. And every now and then, somebody comes out on top on that. And I'm not going to take away, like, that they put some hard work in, but the world isn't a meritocracy, man. Like, it's not based off of virtue, okay? It's not like, oh, wow, what I'm doing is really virtuous. Wow, I'm working at a Wendy's and saving up money. I'm living in my own apartment at 18 years old. Wow, like, I'm embodying the value of hard work and virtue, and, like, this is really going to pay off because we live in a world where, you know, virtue and honor is currency. Like, no, man. And that's a sheep mentality, unfortunately. Going back to the dichotomy of wolves and sheep, the wolves don't give a shit about that, bro. The wolves will make money by robbing people and throw it into an investment account. And like, wow, I robbed 5 people over the course. I did like 5 really sophisticated inside job robberies over the last 5 years, and I threw all that money into an investment account. Now I'm rich because I didn't give a shit about anything or anybody. And you're like, well, I'm doing the right thing. I'm working hard. It's like, it's so sad, bro. Like, middle class. And sometimes I feel there's so many layers of like where the bitterness towards the boomer generation is coming from. But a lot of people's boomer parents were upper middle class. And they did not have class consciousness at all. They got there by things worked out for them. They have a story about how they worked really hard for it. But eventually they became obsessed with their jobs. They were not great parents. They put their kids in public schools. And then they threw their kids to the wolves. It's like, well, if you're worth a damn, you'll figure it out. I figured it out. And we are starting to see a lot of these upper middle class boomers, they did not have class consciousness, and their children are not going to continue in that amount of wealth. They will be lower working class when they had upper middle class parents. Where the experience that I had that I feel like really pisses the glowies off, part of the reason that I'm a targeted individual, is I lived on the East Coast for 5 years, and I see how it is, dude. These kids are born into a rich millionaire family. Daddy's a lawyer. Wee! Mommy's a lawyer too. And then they go to private schools. People are telling me about their experience in private schools. Like, oh yeah, I just went to school on acid every single day and, you know, hooked up with a bunch of chicks and life is good. And then they go to Berkeley and then it doesn't really matter if they amount to anything. Like, they can just get some nepotism, cronyism job at their dad's law firm, and like, they can't lose, dude. Okay, I basically went to like an Ivy League kind of a school on Boston where there was like Harvard and MIT and all these great schools, and these rich kids can't lose. Their parents won't let them lose. You could be a loser. Some of them are on drugs and are potheads and aren't really that deep, you know? There's kind of like a McDonald's drive-through like level of intellectualism in the upper classes, you know. So your average like rich kid will probably be a little bit deeper than your average like middle class poor kid. Not trying to sound judgmental. It's just reality. They're exposed to more. They go to better schools. They're around people whose parents do like fancier things, and they have family and friends who have more money, but they won't really grow. They'll just like use their parents' money to get drunk and drink and do drugs and just kind of exist, bro. And some of them don't really achieve that much, but it doesn't really matter. They don't really have to do that much to follow in their parents' footsteps. And it's a positive thing. Like, nobody should want their children to lose. And you got to be really sensitive when you start talking about like lower classes, because some parents only have like so much to give. Some parents only have so much to give. But I remember seeing these stories where somebody's like, you know, my dad was he was a first generation immigrant, moved here, he worked in a factory, he saved everything he had, and he gave it to me so I could graduate from college. And now I'm a doctor. So those kind of stories exist too. And yeah, nobody's owed anything, and I'm sure I'm going to get lectured about how entitled I am. It's not all about me, bro. I'm a philosopher, and it really triggers people because I've seen a lot of the world. I've seen a working class island like Kodiak where I was born, and I've seen a rich, old money, East Coast, Ivy League school area like Boston. And, bro, some people are born with a golden ticket, man. And the reality of like, if you want to be a self-made person, rap music. And I don't mean like making a bunch of money being a rapper. I mean like Paid in Full, bro. Have you ever seen the movie Paid in Full? That's like a in the hood movie. It starts out the guy's like working at the laundromat and he's trying to get this girl. It's like, and then his friends comes like, what are you doing, man? Working at the fucking laundromat? Ooh, can I wash some clothes? Listen. You want to come make some real money? And what are they doing? Fucking sticking people up or doing robberies or something. I don't want to tell people to like crime max or anything. I'm not advocating for crime, but And that's another thing. See, let's talk about racism for a second, because people accuse me of being racist. Well, that's another thing where I think conservatives are wrong. Like the traditional conservative 50s right-wingers, like, oh, those are savages doing crime. It's like, well, what do you want them to do? Work at a fucking Wendy's? What's your average black guy in the hood gonna do, guys? Mom's on welfare, no dad around, going to a piece of shit public school where kids are freaking throwing chairs at each other. You're either gonna work at the laundromat and wear your little laundromat uniform and, well, I got a real job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And then the friends show up. He rolls up in his fucking Bentley. It's like, man, how did you afford that car, bro? It's like, listen, bro. You want to keep washing clothes for $8 an hour, or you want to come get this fucking money? I think hood-ass black people got it right, dude. Like, I've grown through all these different phases. I had the uptight conservative phase. It's like, all they should do is get a job. You sound like a fucking boomer. White people being racist towards black people in the hood, you sound like a fucking boomer, dude. That's how they got out of the hood. Like, if you want to think about wolves versus sheep, well, let's see. I grew up in the hood with a single mom on welfare and went to a piece of shit public school and lived in a crime-ridden neighborhood, and now I'm fucking getting money, and now I'm fucking hot girls, and life is good now. Because you went to the laundromat every day and woke up early and... No, bro. That's how you elevate yourself out of poverty. Black people shit. I'm not talking shit. I see you. I understand, bro. I'm not gonna hit you with that, well, they should get a job is what they should do. And is there such thing as a good, honest dollar? Well, you don't know the value of the good, honest dollar there, bucko. There is, bro. I know all kinds of people who made a good, honest dollar. But, and so much of it is experience, man. You know, I rolled the dice, and these are my genetics, and I tried to go to music school, and I didn't graduate. I think I probably should have graduated if that's the plan I was going to go. But I was really young, and man, I don't want to go down that road again, but life happened quick, man. Life happened quick, and for me, it was this bait and switch where it's like, yeah, you're going to chase your dreams. It's like, well, it looks like your dreams didn't work out. Well, I guess you just get a job at a Wendy's, and I was just like, you know what? I just don't want to do it. Oh, you don't have any grit, son, and you need to... I don't care. I'm a piece of shit. I don't want to do it. I think this is a slave country. Now I've been harassed by the government for years. I know that we live in a tyranny. It's the American Stasi, bro. Check out AmericanStasi.com if you want to figure out what the truth of what gang stalking is. We have a Stasi here in the United States. The mentality of this country is all gone to shit. Right-wingers are brainwashed. Yeah, left-wingers are brainwashed too. But the right-wingers really feel like you've like become enlightened because you're like telling people to like, well, what they need to do is get a job. It's like, bro, honestly, like the black guy in the hood who like did some crime and like has more money than you now it's a fucking hustle, bro. This life is a hustle, man. And I'm not advocating for crime. I'm not telling people to break the law. I'm just telling you, bro, this is a really fucking mean world. People are really mean. There's something about being a fucking scumbag and having money that just... it just seems like bad people have a lot of money and there's a lot of good-hearted people who don't. And I don't want it to be that whole Reddit, nice guys finish last. Oh, yeah, because you're such a nice guy. I held the door open for her. Thanks. Why didn't you have sex with me? I held the door open for you. It's like... there is some reality to that, but is there such thing as being a nice guy? Is there such thing as like good-hearted people getting fucked in the world? Like having a bad time? Does that exist, or has Reddit solved it? It's like, oh, every single guy who says they're nice isn't really nice. I mean, Anyway, this is kind of evolved. This is kind of like devolved into just an unhinged rant. I started building like a lot of different ideas, like reign Guinan's reign of quantity and communism and factories and the Industrial Revolution. I'm like, yeah, it's just too much, dude. But I guess that's pretty much it, guys. In conclusion, if you don't have a lot, if you're one of these guys who's looking at your life, it's like, damn, bro, like I don't got a woman and I don't have a career and I'm not successful. It doesn't mean shit, bro. Everything under the sun exists. Some people earned it. Some people didn't. Some people are born poor and become rich. Some people are born rich and become poor. Most of the time, the point that I'm outlining here logically is that usually people are going to be pointing at the exception to a rule. That's what people always hit you with when it's like, yeah, I tried, man, but I don't know, I can't. Well, this guy worked at a Wendy's and he's a millionaire now. Gee, well, that guy's really lucky. Because for every one of the Joe Schmo who like saved some money from a Wendy's and took a shower at the library, for every couple of guys like that, there's like a million chuds who are just rotting away, working for people who don't give a shit about you. I'm not trying to, like, bro, the working class person who's listening to this is like, man, Stoic, I don't disagree with everything you're saying, but fuck you, dude. I'm working. I'm making a good, honest dollar. I just say fly, little chuddy. Just fly, bro. Run and fly. And if you fall on your face, and you'll probably resent me, dude. If you go on my word, it's like, fuck it. I'm going to do what Stoic said. I'm going to quit my hamburger flipping job, and I'm going to drive to LA, and I'm going to go try to be a whatever, bro. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like you just got to try, dude, because this life is looking really bleak. We're headed towards bad times. We're in this weird transitionary phase to where it's like we haven't got where we're going yet. We're going somewhere. Life is going somewhere, and I don't think it's positive. And yeah, war is very likely around the corner, meaning like 50 to 100 years or less. You never know, man. Just a lot of question marks right now. A lot of guys are very uncomfortable. The ABC boys are working overtime trying to figure out how to shame, judge, and scare low-class men and just shutting up, dude. They're treating low-class men like terrorists. They're spreading propaganda all over the television that everybody needs to report to the police if there's a guy that you know who said he's unhappy because he's not making a lot of money or whatever. Like, they're treating you like terrorists, dude. It's a fucking tyranny. Your government's trying to figure out how to keep you oppressed. They're trying to figure out how to keep you down, bro, because they don't give a fucking shit about you. They see you as the enemy. All this money that's going into this war on terrorism, it's money spent trying to fucking keep you down. Because they see you as the enemy, bro. So, what are you going to do, man? You're going to just put your head down and pack burgers for the rest of your life because some people told that's a good honest dollar. You don't listen to anybody. There's like, and maybe it is, dude. Hey, look, if you got a woman who loves you and you got kids, that's one thing. And a lot of those kind of people talk down to me, especially if they're like in construction. It's like, man, I work with my hands every day in the sun, and I got a beautiful woman who loves me, and I got kids. Well, you're probably a Chad, dude. You're probably a good-looking guy. Like, see, there really is something about the black pill where, in my experience, bro, I don't make the cut. Like, if I worked construction, women wouldn't give a shit. And I'd just be working a hard-ass job, and it wouldn't be really doing much for me. Because I'm not some strapping young Chad lad. By the way, all of those terms are blacklisted and red flags. And when you use that kind of terminology, like, you're literally you're being put on watch lists. So be really careful when you're like, oh, man, that's Chads, get all the women. I don't do construction because I'm not a Chad. And like, dude, you're getting put on watch lists for saying that. Because the government is treating unhappy men like terrorists. This is a tyranny. We live in tyranny. The Stasi is here in the United States. You have been betrayed. So I'm going to leave it up to you, man. You know? For some people, life was like grow up and be 22 and go to war and die. You know? I don't want to like radicalize everybody watching this video, but bro, people don't fucking care about you, man. Like, it's like there's the guy working at Wendy's who's got a woman and a kid, but think about it. It's 2024. Like, women don't want to have a kid with the guy who works at Wendy's. You might just need to fly, bro, and flying could mean, yeah, drive to LA and go try to be an actor, or insurance fraud. There's wolves and sheep. Two kinds of people. You got to choose which kind of person you want to be, bro, because nobody gives a fuck about the sheep, man. The government's trying to figure out how to whoosh, keep the sheep in line. Here in the United States of America, in the slave factory that we were born into. God bless you, my friends. Yeah, I'm a philosopher, and this is philosophy, and this is for my art project. This was all, just kidding. This is all a joke for my art project. I hope I get a good grade. Okay, God bless.